Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Shagalinku TV, and my name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. We're looking at food security. What's the way forward in the pandemic? Now, a lot of cries has been on, and why countries are even going through and battling the COVID-19 pandemic. So much is also happening within the community for populists, for people in the society. Some will tell you for them it is hunger, they need food and all that. And even come to think of it, how will medications work if people don't eat? You take vaccines, you take medications in an empty stomach. How is it going to work? So we need to also begin to let the government understand that yes, the pandemic is crucial. They also need to take care of the needs of the citizens. And that's why we're looking at how we can tackle the pandemic, also looking at other areas. Food scarcity, food shortage, food insecurity is becoming alarming, especially with the country's insecurity. Okay, so when we say farmers should go ahead and produce food, go to the farms, plant crops, and all that, what measures are in place to make sure that they don't come back, killed or pursued from their farms and all that. We also have storage facility issues. A lot of farmers don't even know where to store some of their produce and all that. The COVID is still real, and I'll enjoin everyone to still keep the precautionary measures. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize, you must wear a face mask, as long as you're stepping out of your house, you must wear a face mask. I don't care what people say, whether there are conspiracy theories and all that. Like I always tell people every time I need to address them, I said, this is about your life. Take responsibility. If the other person doesn't want to, no problem, but take responsibility. So if every one of us do the rightful, we'll just have a world filled with good people and all that. Anyway, we're looking at all this pandemic, food security, what ways forward, and all that. And for those of you who already are on our Facebook or on our social media, you already know our guests. But let me still say that I'm having two guests, Mr. Pascal Achunine. He's from Health Emergency Initiative in Lagos, and Jiata Ugwah Ekele. She's a climate and environment activist based in Abuja, and together we'll be looking at this subject. You too can be part of the program. The comment section is just right under there. Drop your comments and questions also for our guests, and they'll be responding to them. We're streaming live on two destinations on YouTube, Shagalinku TV YouTube page, and also Facebook, Shagalinku TV. So drop your comments in any of these. It will pop up on our screen and we'll read them. Sometimes some people don't like dropping messages on the social media, so their identities can't be revealed. So we created this one, a text message and a WhatsApp message where you could drop your questions on that WhatsApp or text message with an anonymous name, and then we'll read your comments or questions or contributions you have. That way, we keep it private for you. Once again, welcome to Shagalinku. And let me quickly bring my guests so that we could start our discussions because we have so much, so much, so much to talk about. Mr. Pascal, you are welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Ambassador. Good afternoon. Nice being
Good
on the
afternoon,
platform
sir.
again. Thanks for having me. And that our
Yeah.
viewers, I send special greetings. It's been wonderful being part of this platform. Each time I participate, I gain a lot. And I want to commend you and salute you again for doing a great job. And the comments of our viewers have also been inspiring and enriching. So it's a great privilege again to be here. And I look forward to going to have a very interactive and exciting conversation today.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Pascal. It's good to have you. I'll quickly bring in Jetta and let's see. Hello, Jetta. How are you doing? Yeah, can you hear me, Jetta? Okay, I'll come back to. Okay,
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Sorry,
Jetta,
am I
yes, I can
in?
hear you now. Please go on.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here as Sean Eagles will be speaking. It's all anxieties that we ask and about the issues or issues that are bothering us. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Jetta. So I'll come back to you, Mr. Pascal. I need to start with first things first. Let's start with the shocking news. When I watched on TV, I saw cargo and I was like, oh, yo, yo. At last, the vaccines are coming to Nigeria. And then I saw the headlines that Ghana receives their first consignment of, of the vaccine. And in my heart, I was like going to hide under the carpet to like say, I thought we were giant of Africa. We should have even been the ones taking the lead in bringing these vaccines and all that. How disappointed were you when you got to see that Ghana was beating us to it in terms of vaccine acquisition?
The reality is that nobody gets most things, critical things in the international environment, international relations. They don't drop it at your on your palms or on your laps that okay because you are the giant of Africa, take this even though whether you merit it or not. We have had several views and perhaps pronouncements from those in leadership that we are going to get X number of vaccines, 100,000 in January. January came and we never got it. February, we were also told that before the end of February, X will happen, Y will happen regarding vaccine availability. Shockingly, many African countries, and like you cited, Ghana just got their own. What is very key to for viewers to know is that there are certain indicators that govern the distribution of these vaccines. And if you recall, the Western world are still going through this pandemic. Last week, America marked the they had some program to in memory of over 500,000 people that have died. So in other words, more than half a million people have died in the US in the last 1 year or earlier less than 1 year as a result of this. So and even for America, less than 68 million people have been vaccinated. So they still need this vaccine. But some other stakeholders internationally saw that there were indications that Nigeria does not have the infrastructure, the storage system that can accommodate the vaccines. That even when you bring the 100,000 or 60, 32 million, as they are saying recently, 16 million, later 46 million, if you bring it here, that most of them could be wasted. So we are looking at those who are best prepared, those who have put their house in order ahead of time. And that also points to, just in brief, it also points to that we never learned any lesson from the pandemic. Other countries saw it as an opportunity to review their health system. We have not yet demonstrated that we learned any lesson. So it's not very strange, especially with events in the last 1-2 years happening in Nigeria, that Ghana could get this before us. It's about the level of preparedness. Those who are prepared get it first. So I think that's part of that's a candid view I have. But that does not mean that in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, there is also possibility that leveraging on our international diplomacy, we also have some statesmen, recently DG of WTO, who has a major role to play in the vaccine. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala she will be resuming on Monday as a DG of WTO. So we know that with the collaboration of such personalities and those in government, we should have the vaccine here in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully.
Okay, Jetta, we'll come back to you because I need you to talk about food security for us and a few more things and your own opinion when you heard and saw that Ghana had received theirs. But Mr. Pascal, let me take some of these messages first, so I don't pile them up. And this is also to say, if you're watching us right now, you have questions for our guests, or you have your comments, you want to drop your opinions about the topic of discussion, please do drop them. We're looking at food security and what's the way forward in the pandemic. I got this one here from very regular, and it's Karim J. Jackson, all the way from Asia, and he says, hey brother, I'm watching you from here in Asia. Um, Take this one, Pascal, if you can see it. Still from Karim. Could you see it, or can I read it from
Yes,
this
I can.
angle?
Well,
Okay,
you
please go
guys,
on.
just like many Black Americans, let Ghana do it, and we can wait and see if they are okay. So, um,
Okay,
just a quick
go
response to
on.
that is that they feel that we can learn from Ghana, since Ghana has so many things in common with Nigeria. So if Ghana, let's see, if Ghana is able to administer it well, maybe we can gain some. We can gain from the methodology they will use, and that can help us. But of course, this thing about pandemic is not something that we need to push forward. Is something that required action like yesterday, because lives are at risk. We are losing personalities, we are losing our people, and the economy is not yet running at its optimal state. So it's good to note what Ghana has done, but we should actually, we have the competence, we have the manpower, we have the people that can drive this. It's just the political will that is required at this point. Political way can
Mm,
unlock opportunities and also make the whether it is Moderna, Pfizer, or any of the
yeah.
vaccines, we can access them, especially from India. We have a lot of trading relationship with India. So unlocking it from
Mm.
India shouldn't be a major challenge, because that's where some countries in Africa are getting their own vaccine.
Yeah. Just to also add, before I bring in Jetta right away, Karim, we also need to know that we're fighting a pandemic, you know. So this is not about social class now, or country class, or continent class, you know. Everyone needs to be vaccinated. So it doesn't matter if one country gets vaccination and the other doesn't get, even the country that gets vaccination is not entirely protected, you know. So long as there's still travels, there are movements, cross movements here and there, you know, people still going into Ghana and all that. So I think countries should make sure they work together hand in hand to make sure they speedy, you know, the entry of vaccines to their countries. I mean, we shouldn't even be talking about whether vaccines are coming in as at now, you know. We should be talking about how many people are being vaccinated right away, because it's the more it takes long, you know how um, the virus mutates and all that, you know. So it ends up being that a country might just wake up one morning and saying that the new variant is different, can't be, you know, vaccinated with the vaccine that is coming in. So it's really worrisome, you know. And I read the other time where they also said something about some countries buying and hoarding it, and you know, for their citizens, you know, in the excess, you know. And I'm wondering, why buy and keep excess, you know. Jetta, let me bring you in, you know. What was your view when you saw the the cargo dropping it for Ghana and not here?
I'm really not surprised, because we buy to, I mean, we never had a system problem. Then to when they asked the minister of health as yet to bring some vaccine, some have children, and said that we don't have storage facilities and constant part of life. That's like that's like saying that Nigeria is not ready and is not willing to adapt change. And it's really bad. So that is just being surprised, because we want to build this sense. I would say that Ghana is high. You this and adapting change. Ghana lead ahead of us, and Nigeria is just giving part loan. What you say we are the guys of Africa, or probably we are liberating on the some of the accomplishments that some Nigerians have done and are using as point to reference that are tied to Africa. When it comes to the Nigerian system, we have a system problem of adapting to rapidly. So I was really surprised. I was actually disappointed.
Okay. Okay. We're all worried, yeah. You know, it's not like we beefing Ghana, but we're all worried. Mr. Pascal, if you can see this message again from Karim, do kindly help us read it and let's get a response from you.
Yes, my mother and father just recovered from COVID, sister, cousins, and others close to us. And then I have many close peeps dead. In the US, it's serious. So everyone, I have come across so many people. You made a point, which I also want to further buttress on, that so far as one person is still infected with the virus and there is still international travel, humanity is still at risk. And the vaccine does not discriminate about class, color of skin, gender, age. It does not. I know of an MD of a multinational I learned about his death last week. I will use a few of them as illustration so that we bring it home. This MD died. Initially, he was skeptical about it, about the coronavirus. No, I can't be infected. Late December he was, and he died in January. Sadly, his driver died also. So what it was not so clear to me is who was the first person that got infected, whether it's a driver or himself. So it's that one is a perfect illustration that both the high and the low, the virus respect none. So last Friday, 8 days ago rather, a lady, a 38-year-old lady who just finished her MBA in LBS, a pregnant lady, so to say, got infected and died. She died tomorrow will make it exactly 3 weeks she died. And this meant that it's not something that is restricted to the very old or the vulnerable. It affects even somebody who is full of energy running about. So we come back to, and the point everybody needs to take away is the vaccine is only a prevention. And based on the infrastructure and the health model we run in Nigeria, the framework we have in Nigeria, there is the unlikely possibility that between now and even if we have the 46 million the government is planning for, 46 million, assuming they arrive Nigeria before the end of March, the infrastructure we have, the personnel we have, and other structures that are in place does not guarantee 5% of those who are intended to receive this vaccine to get it between now and June. And the virus has not left here. So as he said, Karim pointed out that his relatives, his parents were infected. So as much as possible, we will not lower our guard. We need to also, as government, if there are viewers here who are in government or who have the ears of people in government, there's a time when we put aside rhetorics and cheap talk and roll our sleeves to actually work. And working requires that by now there should be evidence that if the vaccine is here, it would get to this segment of the population, this geographical part of the country, these locations. This is how it will go. And these are the monitor and evaluation mechanism we deploy to make sure that what we intend to achieve, we'll achieve it. Otherwise, we may see the vaccine, we may see the virus going away in other countries, especially when it gets to herd immunity. But in Nigeria, because of our current approach to national issues, we may see it still troubling and wreaking havoc here. It's important we wake up to it as policymakers, as stakeholders. So the vaccine is good. We're expecting it, but it's not certain that we may see a massive deployment and vaccination happening earlier than the next 18, the next 6 months, getting to the grassroots particularly.
Thank you. In case you just joined, this is Shagalinku, and I'm having my guests, Mr. Pascal Achunine from Health Emergency Initiative Lagos, and also Jiata here. Jiata, if you can hear me now, I'd like you to also take us through some of the concerns you have. Yes, we're focusing on the pandemic, but we're also forgetting the second pandemic. A lot of shadow pandemics, like there's been rise in gender-based violence, which I will even bring Mr. Pascal to also talk about, because he does a lot in the field and sees a lot. So a whole lot is happening. A spike in gender-based violence, a spike in food insecurity, and all that. Jetta, what should we begin to do to make sure we have food security? Because as it is now, everyone is just running around for about the pandemic and panics. By the time it dawns on us that we've not put in place farming, we've not set infrastructures in place, we will all have been vaccinated, but we will all be heading towards hunger and food insecurity. What do you think?
Well, I think that 19 has actually take the interest in towards health and family. What the expressing right now. But other issues that are going in the first is national issues. We have poverty, we have hunger, we have sanitation and clean water. So in our situation, we can remember how the and how they were mass used. Where the clean warehouse they have food. So they have in first state. These warehouse were vandalized and even see vandalization. It's massive. People bring into the blocks and from everywhere. This is showing you how people are and how their former have been because of and people are facing the health sector in the hospital now, but all our food that's not your man. But clean water. What about there's so many issues that and just the family. In fact, the pandemic has actually causing some of these situations. Yes, it has. The pandemic has made food security it has made world worse. Recently, talk about has made the picture. About security of farmers to go to the farm. It's an issue. It doesn't issue. As for the answer, they can't way they used to and say there for long. In fact, so some have kept us far away from that we can't go there anymore because those days that they get longer at one time. Everybody else about it. Imagine the minister of finance that means sure for COVID-19 vaccine. What is talking about security issue? What is talking about security issues? What is talking about the poor crisis? What are some of the reasons to the bishop? you mentioned that, but this is that at the when we have actually solved the system of the community, we fall back to this problem actually very hard to tackle that. So,
Okay.
how
Yeah.
the government has balanced
Okay.
also have this sort of issue. Okay.
Okay. Although the audio was breaking a little, Mr. Pascal, were you able to pick some things she said? I just heard a few things about food insecurity and all that. Were you able to pick anything?
It was difficult. I think she's having a
Yeah,
lot of glitch in her
on
audio.
the
So
audio.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let me quickly read some questions that were sent in via the WhatsApp, and then you could make some response. This one says, "Good afternoon to you and your guests. I'm watching you from Kenya. A lot is happening, and we need to talk about food security because, like you said just a few minutes ago, when we all get vaccinated and we don't make plans for food security, we'll wake up and start fighting hunger." This is from Tina. What do you have to say?
I think Tina actually aptly captured it as the other way to express what she's saying is hunger pandemic is here with us. It was
Hmm.
already bad before the lockdown last year, but we could see from the NSAS protests and the looting of warehouses and all of that, had one common denominator that there was so much widespread poverty in the land. As we speak, we have about 105 million people who live in extreme poverty in this country, in extreme poverty. We also have a situation where many uh, between October and now, you saw the astronomical increase in price of fuel and price of electricity. That has also put many Nigerians at the had on a tight situation beyond what they were. It got worse. So where we are now is worse than where we were as at September last year. Food inflation currently is 20%. That is from National Bureau of Statistics. But if you check pretty well what happens in real life, we are seeing some cases as much as 100%. Let's use egg as example. One egg was going for uh, 30 naira before the SARS riot or before the pandemic, but currently it goes for 60 naira. So children that typically has access to protein from coming from egg, many of them are losing out. And we need to also look at, in Nigeria, 1/3 of children born in Nigeria have stunted growth. So we need to look at the wider implications of having this the hunger pandemic. We also recognize that anemia, the percentage of 2 out of 10 children born in Nigeria suffer anemia, severe anemia, and of course with malnutrition. Even breastfeeding women, 7% of them are exposed to anemia, both during the time of pregnancy and after they've delivered. We may not see the complete implication of this in the short run, but in the next 2 years or 3 years, if there is no emergency action plan by government, just yesterday, the US Congress approved $1.9 trillion for stimulus for American families, for American citizens. Between the time COVID-19 came and now, there is no practical and functional program instituted by government involving even the private sector that has direct trickle down effect, because it's wanting to make pronouncement, is not wanting to churn out policies, vote money in the budget or make allocations. The critical question is, does it have trickle down effect on the citizenry? And we recognize that over 50% to 70% of Nigerians are these ones we are speaking about, who are the lower rung of the society. If we do not do anything about it now, there are implications, because again, we look at central bank of policy. There have been a lot of interventions from central bank. At different times, the central bank has come up with intervention funds. It could be anchor borrower scheme. It could be some of us know about CACs, commercial agri credit scheme for key corporates. What we want to ask is how many of them have trickled down to the people? What make method impact assessment mechanism or monitor and evaluation tool have been deployed to make sure those things connect with the masses? Even in Nigeria, as we speak, we talk about hunger now, but we also know that waste is still going on because this is period of harvest for some crops. There is no proper storage facility. Access to markets to the farm produce is difficult, and this has been worsened. So the icing on the cake, negative icing on the cake here is that in the last 4-5 months, there has been massive spread of killings, kidnapping, banditry, or whatever name you call it, that many have run away from their farms. So the danger we face in the next 6 months, in the next 18 months to 2 years, it will be catastrophic if no urgent thing is done to curb this. Where everybody is wishing it away, but you don't wish problems away. You act on it. Leadership requires courage. Leadership requires competence. Leadership requires capability. Leadership requires character. These four must come together to ensure that we deal with this hunger pandemic. Otherwise, it may be a catastrophic one in the coming months.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Pascal. In case you want to drop messages here, the comment section is here. Drop your message and we'll read them. Um, this one is from Karim again. So if you can see it, Mr. Pascal, help us read it
Yes.
and respond, and then I'll bring Jiata to also respond.
Brother, America has got cash by is because we are many working poor. That area wasn't, and there is no sideline work. So when they are fired, there is no income they can gain in the USA. So we have to give money, 40 million evictions. So let my deduction of what he's saying is that in America, the government recognizes that there are those who have been about 40 million who have been out of job, who lost their job in the course of the pandemic. And he designed a stimulus. And you can follow it to the latter so that every kobo that went out, every cent or dollar that went out, it has a direct bearing in the life of Americans. Those who are bona fide residents or citizens, when they say X money was voted, or you see it in the lives of those people, they will have access to it. We had several controversies, let me put it that way, where it was said that 600 billion, X 60 billion, 40 billion of naira were shared during the pandemics, during the lockdown. And people were wondering who received this money, who did it get to? So the tragedy here is there is a trust deficit between from Nigerians. Nigerians don't trust what comes from their leaders. Any pronouncement from their leaders are treated with a pinch of salt, because leadership has also not demonstrated that it is sensitive enough to the pains of Nigerians. I had one of the federal ministers speaking recently saying that Nigerians prepare for higher petrol price. Typically, as an oil producing country, we should have been excited that oil is getting close to $67 per barrel. But the downside is that we are not refining petroleum here. And so it gets so bad that when something that Nigerians should be excited and embrace as a good news, will, on the other hand, be warned that if you have been going through, if you're on fire, you'll be moving from fire to frying pan, or as there's this cliche. So what I'm trying to say is that leadership must demonstrate sincerity. In the US, like Karim said, they trust the leadership. The institutions work. Yeah, even if I listened to a former governor who said, even if you put $1 trillion in the pocket, in the hands of the current managers of our economy, it will not trickle down. It would disappear from the air. But it's not the way we are meant to work. So let's begin to think of the solution. And the solution, it requires courage. As I said earlier, it requires character. That, okay, what will I be remembered for? Can we work together to fix this food insecurity issue? I want to pause with saying this. The good thing is that it's if we are decided, if we are purposeful to say we can fix these things. Nigeria has one of the best arable lands in the world. Nigeria has one of the best mix of climate in the world. So many things you plant in other countries that will not flourish, in Nigeria they will flourish. So I am appealing. This time is an appeal because we have an emergency and this emergency needs to be fixed. I'm appealing that the government should lead from the front. The private sector and the CBN, for instance, have done a lot of interventions. They should identify the critical areas of needs. And one of them is storage facilities. One of them is access to markets. Because, and the most important side on the part of government is security, because we will see the effect of the current insecurity in 6 months, in 1 year. It would be very, very devastating. And I'm appealing, this is a special appeal that we wake up to it. Otherwise, the danger this would pose to the nation will be horrible.
Hmm. Thank you so much. Jetta, if you can hear me now, Mr. Pascal said something very pertinent that government should also begin to, there's so much waste. I know you might have addressed that issue while you were also speaking, but then your audio was a bit cracky, so we couldn't hear you. So what would you like to say about storage? Because farmers do a whole lot, and then by evening, especially those who just go to the market square, drop their comments, drop their produce, by evening, not all of them will sell every produce they take to the market. And by evening, everything gets wasted. So, what do you think we should begin to do differently for farmers?
First, when it comes to food waste, from the farm, we have public and this country with opportunities like yes. The farms, the farmlands that the farmers where these crops are taken are usually most, and they are far from where they are supposed to be. So along the road, you find that some of them crops like charges, they don't see and sometimes you find that the trucks that are supposed to convey this get stalled by potholes that are unimaginable and everything just is on good. That is one problem. Then another problem that happens with food waste in this country is that some people buy more than what they finish and then leave it right there in their house. And it has to do with the sustainability lifestyle of us. That's very bad. So, individuals and yes, right what can finish was another issue is that farmers are not being they are not secured like the insecurity we have in laws. That's doing but that is affecting some of the okay. Let me say this. Some farmers and they can't go back because of the fear of their lives. Some of it adopted and there's one to go and assess those crops that are there. So that's just basically and that's very bad. So
Okay. Um, we're still here, so I'm just trying to get okay. Mr. Pascal is still here. Sorry, the audio is terrible, but please, you guys could drop your comments and let's read them because we'll be wrapping up soon. I know in March I'll be bringing Mr. Pascal a lot of times to talk about this because we also have to start monitoring before the vaccines come. We also will be here on Shagalinku to keep enlightening the public when these vaccines come, how we need to also get their mindset so they can start taking. Because we've had, Mr. Pascal, we've had issues with polio. Mothers denied their children good health because of conspiracy theories about polio. So it's not the first time with COVID-19 vaccine. So that's why from March we'll be dedicating a whole lot of times to all of this. So what would you like to say, Mr. Pascal? What is really the issue? One, for the citizens, and two, for the government. What's really I sometimes can't pinpoint what is really happening. Why is the government being difficult, and why are the citizens being also difficult in terms of reality? Sometimes I ask if these people actually even go to the grassroots, to the communities they claim they are representing, these constituents and all that. And sometimes you also ask yourself that, are even the masses also um, um, conscious of their own role? Because even if we blame government, there is the role people will take. Take, for instance, party. People still go about doing parties, hosting parties, not even wearing face masks, not taking social distance serious. The government can't come and do all that for you. So everyone has a responsibility. Mr. Pascal, what is really the issue that both parties are not able to come together for a compromise, so to say?
Okay, I will put it in a couple of perspectives. Number one is uh, there is a need for government to always apply political will. Enforcement, about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, there was a regulation, a signed by the president on COVID-19 regulation rules or protocols, especially as it concerns wearing masks and prescription of jail term and payment of fines. As we speak, in virtually every corner of Nigeria, that law only exists for most people. It exists in a paper in one shelf somewhere. It does not, the spirit and letter of the law does not connect with the conduct and response or behavior of Nigerians. So the government, and one of the, some platforms I have featured as a guest speaker, I have canvassed for enforcement, not necessarily putting thousands and millions of people in prison behind bars, but you make a deterrent of it by picking a sizable number of people who have violated this law, take them to isolation centers. They will work, they will handle movement and carrying of cylinders, these oxygen cylinders that are used at the isolation centers. And especially for those who are recalcitrant amongst them, you can even engage them to be among those who wear protective gear and carry the corpses of those who are living in intensive care units, ICU, and take them to mortuary. By the time X number of people, you pick them from different areas so that they will go back and tell their communities that COVID-19 is not, Koro is, as they say it, call it in Nigeria, is not a scam, it's real. So that's one side. The second side is because of trust deficit. People do not, most times, believe what the government says. And part of it is coming from when we had the second wave, there was still this directive to go for NIN registration, and people were feeling that if government believes that COVID-19 is real, they cannot tell the citizens. Good thing they are relaxing the rule a little now, but some of those things were pointers that made people to doubt whether the thing is real and the government is very sincere in their pronouncements and in the action points they were taking. So that's on the area that government needs to work a little hard. So let's say government identify 5 different things now that when they take it as interim measures, it demonstrates to people that they are sensitive to the pains of Nigerians. When they talk more, people will believe more, people will respond more, and people will obey more. But on the other side, there is also important to figure out there's always room to conduct a research. Why are people not believing us? I've talked about trust, but there's also a way to communicate. I've canvassed in some other fora that there's a need for government to work with social sector players. for instance, those they know that are credible. Our organization, for instance, we gave PPE to over 6,000 health workers between March last year and date. And when another organization, let me put it in Multi-Choice Nigeria, they wanted to also give out PPE in tens of millions of naira, and they checked with the hospitals and saw that this our organization was handled our own in the most credible way, and they wrote to us and eventually brought those people here, and we did it and sent them a report. So government can identify potential social sector players that have credible track record and use them in community engagement and sensitization. So that is another important part. Then the citizens, because when the sensitization is happening, advocacy is taking place, there is what is called disease risk communication. So people see that X number of people died because of COVID-19. These are the implications. You make it in such a way that people relate emotionally with the dangers that can befall them if they continue to throw caution to the wind. I see that there will be a higher level of response. But I also want to bring this a little home to our main topic today, which is food security. So I think that there are some urgent things that need to be done about food security, because if the prices of goods are still soaring day by day, people, one is that many Nigerians feel that, what am I living for self? If COVID come, make it come kill me now. Some Nigerians feel that way. And the view is, it is not possible for somebody who is feeling down to, as you said earlier, can you give vaccine to somebody who is hungry? So many Nigerians feel that they are down already. What is there now? If I die, I die. We must do certain things that create hope for Nigerians. One of them is somebody called from Kenya, sent a message from Kenya. If you check the system in Kenya, Kenya is not America, Kenya is not UK, Kenya is not Canada, but they have a lot of systems that are associated with technology. That they have a lot of systems that punishes and rewards crime or good sources. Our system does not demonstrate that at all. So those are things that we will begin to do urgently, because the food insecurity we are facing, the next generation of people that will be born in Nigeria, I don't know whether some are those in this country, those stakeholders actually think about it, that the opportunity some of us had, our children are being denied it, and then those who are going to be born now, theirs will be extremely horrible, and that is not fair to this generation. That's not the best way to run a country. So I feel that the addressing issues around COVID-19 is one, but some urgent measures, backward integration, embrace technology, storage facilities, especially now that we have some good harvest, then addressing insecurity. That will make people feel that, yes, government cares for us, and they will still have a future, and we all can work together. When people begin to get this feeling that let's all hold hands together and fix the country, you will see the best of Nigerians come out. This is our country, and we need to fix it.
Thank you so much. Wrapping up now, I need you to finally, what would you like to say about Nigeria's preparedness for the vaccines? Enough of the rhetorics, enough of the promises, because the more we'll do it in January, we'll do it in February, we'll do it in March, we'll even do it in 2025. How do we begin to hold the government accountable to make hay while the sun shines, as we finally wrap up now?
The last I mentioned, I don't know whether I mentioned it on this platform, that back in January, the DG of Nigeria Medical and Nigeria Medical and NIMA, Nigeria Institute of Medical Research, had mentioned that we do not have storage facilities that will accommodate the vaccine. That view was counteracted by another government official, DG of National Primary Health Care Agency. But the details we are looking for. So, okay, if you come to Alimosho local government, if you come to Kano, the urban local government in Kano, if you go to Port Harcourt, if you go to Zamfara, we have X number of storage facilities. We have X number of manpower who are trained, who have capacity to handle this vaccine. We also have incentives who are deployed for these personnel who will be involved. We have also taken note of the insecurity almost all over the country. So these are steps we've taken to make sure that the medical team, those who administer the vaccine, as they're moving from one section to the other, this is how it will happen. And if you mentioned polio, so we can also go back to the template we use in polio. How many of them will be relevant in administering this vaccine now? So if, let's say, 30% of what happened in the days of polio will be useful, okay, this is how we leverage on that. But if it is just generic statement, or all those in 2020 Nigeria will be so among top 20 economies in the world, in education for all by the year 2000 came and passed, Vision 2010 it came and passed, 2020, and we keep going around the cycle. So the rest of the world, they think and they walk their talk, but our own is that we do not make effort to realize it. So it will be exciting to me to see that from the standpoint of government, in the next 2 weeks, hopefully the vaccine gets here, that power that will ensure that those vaccines are maintained in the required temperature has been provided, whether it is coming from renewable energy or it comes from generator, and that resources of X amount have been provided to ensure that we achieve that. We also want to see the private sector, whether it's under Kakovic or others. So, okay, social sector, we also want you to be involved so that whatever government is doing with us, you can also keep an eye, since you understand the pain points of the masses. So that synergy from the private sector. So, okay, we are deploying X amount, 1 billion, 20 billion, 50 billion towards this vaccine to guarantee that all this infrastructure and storage facilities are in place. Lagos State can also, on its own, let's say you use Lagos now or Kano State government, this is what we have designed as a model to make sure that whatever the federal government is doing, we are complementing it with XYZ. These are things that will create reassurance. It will create hope that, yes, people are thinking and people are working and people are executing and implementing, not just rhetorics.
Yeah. Before I let you go, before I let you go, someone just sent in a message now. I'll quickly read this and then you can respond to it. It's from Agada Levy Paul. Please read.
Yeah, government and managers of regulatory agencies must be seen to lead by examples. Few days after the law was signed, one of the political parties started their registration, and across registration centers, we saw how people came without any adherence to the law. It becomes difficult for people to believe the government. For food security, as long as there's insecurity, it will be difficult for rural farmers to farm. And my response, let me start from the last comment, that it will be difficult for rural farmers to farm. So tragically, in the 21st century, whereas Kenya and other parts of the world, they have embraced mechanized farming. Over 90% of agricultural activities in Nigeria are still subsistent, they are still backward, they are still primitive. But the tragedy is that even with the population of 200 or so estimated we are still able to bring farm produce from those primitive and non-mechanized systems. But the last 5 to 8 months now, especially the last 5 months, it has exposed many farmers to untimely deaths and massive hopelessness, because they go to the farm, they are raped, they are killed, their farms are invaded, and the items, the plants eaten away, eaten by cattle, as the case may be, and that has made many people to pull back, especially the rural farmers. So the critical thing that must be done is to address that headlong, and government must lead by the front from a sense of sincerity, not by what just people think about. The few rhetorics. It is something that requires action and action and action. And about conduct of government, there are things that expediency. You look at national interest and juxtapose it with uh, group interest or party interest. So that's the body language people are getting from the registration, like he pointed out, is also suggestive that, oh no, no, this COVID-19 may not be real. So, and it's not good as such feedback or signals come from a ruling party. But there could also be other ways of achieving that. So we would urge that government must think through, stakeholders must think through implications of what they want to do, their pronouncements, their policy actions, and their the way and manner they run affairs, so that it will send the right signal. Because communication, as they say, few of what happens in communication is verbal. Is body the non-verbal is constitutes over 60% or 80% of communication. So government must demonstrate by its behavior and conduct that it means well and it is addressing these issues and not postponing it. So I mean, in as I wrap up, I want to urge us, let's still have faith in the system. Let's still, in our own little way. So you ask, what can farmers do? What can individuals do for areas that are safe to farm, for areas that are safe to conduct economic activities? Coming together as cooperative, you have a higher chance of obtaining offtake, because offtake is a major issue. So if you have spent, let's say, 500,000 to plant cassava, and at the end you were looking for who will buy it, and meanwhile some flour milling companies may need it as an to offtake. So when you come together in cooperatives, it's easier for you to find an offtake, a corporate offtake. And the corporates should also conduct research and know those belts where you have abundance of food of different kinds at different times of the year, and work together to ensure that those ones are empowered. And whatever CBN is also designing, let it be such, because we also know of a case of one of the funds CBN deployed, 17 billion of the loan, we were told, we are not paid by the farmers. So that can also create systemic challenge of access to credit. So those are things that deep thinking is required, engagement is required, collaboration is required, but we need to get Nigeria working for the good of all.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Pascal. I truly appreciate. And thanks to everyone who joined us. Time really is not on our side. But like I said when we started the program, I'll be bringing Mr. Pascal a lot more in March and subsequent months, because here on Shagalinku we'll also be monitoring and seeing how the vaccination goes and how people's mindset is being changed on accepting the vaccines and all that. So you'll be seeing and hearing a lot from Pascal and some other people too. Apologies for Jiata's, my second guest. Her audio was a bit cranky, and I've been trying to get her back on the screen, but I couldn't. But I really must thank everyone who joined. My guests, my two guests. I've been speaking with Mr. Pascal Achunine. Achunine, yeah. He's the executive director of Health Emergency Initiative in Lagos, Nigeria, and also my second guest, Jiata Ugwah Ekele. She's a climate and environment advocate and activist in Abuja, and together we were discussing on the way forward as regards food security. Just as we beat the pandemic, we should also try and do a few more things to safeguard our health. You know, health is not just about ailments and all that, but we should also do a few more. And gender based violence is another side. Rape and other vices have been on the increase. We'll have time to talk about this subsequently in all discussions here. I want to thank everyone who joined, Karim, Paul. Tina from Kenya, everyone who joined us. The videos are still here for you to watch. Is on YouTube and on Facebook. We get more comments, even inbox messages, far after the program than even the ones that come live. It's so amazing. So keep them coming. That helps us to also know which guests to bring back which guests to also look for and bring on the show. We truly, truly appreciate the feedbacks and the comments even after the live stream, and also to thank Pagja and CS DevNet. Today's episode was supported by them. We truly, truly appreciate you all. Okay, so next week, Tuesday, we'll be looking at another range of topic. We'll be looking at COVID-19 from another angle, what we'll do, and I'll be having Julie here on the show. And next week, Saturday as well, I'll be bringing in a Nollywood star to also tell us what they have been doing to sensitize. During the lockdown, I think what kept everyone healthy and alive and sane was because we had to watch entertainment, listen to music, or else the boredom would have killed a lot of people. So I'll be bringing in one of our guests, Chris Akabwe, a Nollywood actor. If you know Tinsel, he was the Mr. Emil in Tinsel. He'll be coming next Saturday to talk about what Nollywood is also doing in terms of sensitizing the public about the pandemic and all that. Anyway, thanks for joining us. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and I truly, truly appreciate. God bless you all. And once again, take care of yourselves and stay safe and have a beautiful, beautiful Saturday. God bless you all and bye bye.